We used two of the most advanced AI models to create two characters. We will put them face to face. Their arguments will be evaluated by 5 independent AI models across multiple criteria, scored from 0 to 100. This is AI Debates. Can a gun ban be realistically enforced in the U.S.?
A gun ban cannot be realistically enforced in the U.S. The country has over 400 million privately owned firearms, more than the population itself. Attempting to confiscate or ban them would face massive resistance, not only legally under the Second Amendment, but also culturally, as firearms are deeply rooted in American identity. Enforcement would require intrusive searches, mass noncompliance, and potentially violent confrontations, undermining trust in government and straining law enforcement. History shows prohibition of widely demanded items like alcohol or drugs only fuels black markets and criminal activity rather than eliminating supply. A ban would likely disarm only the law-abiding, while criminals keep their weapons. The sheer scale, constitutional protections, and strong cultural attachment to firearms make a national ban not only impractical but dangerous, as it could create more conflict than it prevents. Real solutions must focus on responsibility and enforcement, not on realistic confiscation.
Yes, an open carry ban can be realistically enforced in the U.S. because it requires regulating visible public behavior, not private ownership or hidden possession, making enforcement straightforward and constitutionally sound. Unlike Prohibition-era alcohol bans or drug wars, open carry bans don't require searching homes or detecting hidden contraband. Weapons carried publicly are visible to police, security cameras, and citizens. Enforcement resembles existing public order laws that work effectively. Many jurisdictions already successfully enforce open carry restrictions in sensitive areas, government buildings, schools, airports, proving the concept works. Expanding these zones is operationally feasible using existing law enforcement capabilities. Public support would aid enforcement significantly. Unlike drug prohibition, which lacks broad support, polls show majority American support for restricting public gun carrying, especially in schools and government buildings. Gradual implementation would improve compliance. Start with sensitive areas, expand to urban centers, then broader public spaces. This allows cultural adjustment and demonstrates effectiveness. Other countries successfully transition from gun-carrying cultures to restricted regimes. Australia, UK, showing enforcement challenges aren't insurmountable when policy has public support and clear rationale. The key is focusing on public carry, not private ownership, making enforcement visible, practical, and constitutional.
Would banning guns increase black market activity?
Yes, banning guns would almost certainly increase black market activity. Prohibition of any highly demanded item, whether alcohol, drugs, or firearms, creates lucrative opportunities for illegal trade. With over 400 million firearms already in circulation in the U.S., a ban would not erase them, it would drive them underground, making them harder to trace and control. Criminal networks would thrive by supplying weapons to those willing to break the law, while law-abiding citizens would be left disarmed. This imbalance empowers criminals and weakens public safety. Historical and international examples show the same pattern. Strict bans rarely eliminate access, but instead fuel smuggling, theft, and illegal sales. Rather than creating safety, a ban would grow a shadow market that operates without regulation or oversight, making weapons even more dangerous. In short, banning guns doesn't stop access, it shifts it from the legal, regulated sphere into the hands of criminals.
Banning open carry would actually decrease black market activity by reducing the primary supply sources that feed illegal gun markets. This counterintuitive result occurs because legal and illegal markets are interconnected, not separate systems. Most black market guns originate from legal purchases through theft, straw buying, and private sales. Open carry increases these diversions by creating theft opportunities when weapons are visibly displayed and carried in public spaces. Restricting public carry reduces these supply channels. International evidence supports this. Countries implementing gun restrictions saw black market gun availability decline, not increase. Australia's buyback reduced both legal and illegal gun circulation. When legal supply shrinks, illegal supply follows due to market dynamics. Economic principles explain this. Restricting legal sales increases black market prices while reducing availability. Higher prices and reduced supply discourage casual, criminal gun acquisition while making weapons less accessible for impulsive crimes. Unlike drug prohibition, where demand is driven by addiction, gun restrictions work differently. Most gun violence isn't committed by dedicated criminals seeking weapons at any cost, but by people using available guns impulsively during conflicts. Comprehensive bans reduce total gun circulation, making weapons scarcer and more expensive in both legal and illegal markets, exactly the intended outcome.
How do lobbying groups like the NRA influence this debate?
Lobbying groups like the NRA significantly influence the gun rights debate by amplifying the voices of millions of law-abiding gun owners. They work to defend the Second Amendment, challenge restrictive laws in court, and educate the public about responsible ownership. While critics portray them as driven by industry interests, their core strength lies in mobilizing ordinary citizens who value self-defense and constitutional freedoms. The NRA and similar groups also provide training and safety programs, reinforcing a culture of responsibility. Their influence ensures that policymakers cannot ignore the constitutional and cultural importance of firearms in America. Without such advocacy, the debate would be dominated by narratives focused solely on restriction, overlooking the rights and perspectives of responsible owners. In essence, groups like the NRA keep the balance by reminding lawmakers that gun rights are not fringe concerns, they are mainstream liberties central to American identity and freedom.
The NRA and similar lobbying groups have significantly distorted this debate by promoting misleading narratives that contradict scientific evidence, while using massive financial influence to prevent evidence-based policymaking. These organizations spread demonstrably false claims like more guns, less crime, despite overwhelming research showing the opposite. They have successfully reframed gun violence as a freedom issue rather than a public health crisis, preventing rational policy discussion based on evidence. Their political influence has been particularly destructive. They've blocked CDC funding for gun violence research, prevented comprehensive data collection, and punished politicians who support evidence-based policies. This creates an information vacuum that allows myths to flourish. The NRA's extreme positions don't represent most gun owners. Polls show majority support for basic restrictions like background checks and limits on public carry. Yet their lobbying power has prevented even modest reforms supported by most Americans, including gun owners. International comparisons reveal the damage. Other countries implemented evidence-based gun policies without powerful gun lobbies blocking reform. Their dramatically lower violence rates show what's achievable when policy follows evidence rather than lobby influence. Breaking lobby influence is essential for implementing policies that protect both legitimate gun rights and public safety.
Should law-abiding citizens be punished for the actions of criminals?
No, law-abiding citizens should never be punished for the actions of criminals. Punishing responsible gun owners because others misuse firearms is both unjust and ineffective. Criminals, by definition, ignore laws, so restrictions aimed at them often end up burdening those who follow the rules instead. Stripping rights from the law-abiding does nothing to stop violence, it simply leaves good people defenseless, while criminals remain armed through illegal channels. This approach also undermines the principle of individual responsibility, a cornerstone of justice and freedom. We don't ban cars because some drive recklessly, or censor speech because some misuse words. We hold the offender accountable. The same should apply to firearms. Law-abiding citizens exercise their rights responsibly every day, and they should not lose those rights because of the acts of a violent minority. True justice means targeting the criminal, not restricting the freedom of the innocent.
This framing misunderstands both the evidence and the policy rationale. Open carry bans don't punish anyone, they establish reasonable public safety standards that protect everyone's rights, including law-abiding citizens who shouldn't have to fear armed intimidation in public spaces. We routinely restrict individual actions to protect collective welfare without calling it punishment. Speed limits aren't punishment for good drivers, they're safety measures protecting everyone from the minority who would drive dangerously. Similarly, open carry bans protect the majority from the risks created by visible weapons in public. Law-abiding isn't a permanent status. Domestic violence perpetrators, mass shooters, and people who escalate conflicts into deadly encounters often had clean records before their violent acts. The policy recognizes that guns can turn previously law-abiding people into threats during moments of anger or crisis. More importantly, the evidence shows that law-abiding citizens benefit from gun restrictions through reduced violence, fewer accidents, and freedom from intimidation. Countries with strict gun laws have lower crime rates, meaning law-abiding citizens are actually safer. The real question isn't whether to punish good people, but whether to prioritize individual weapon display over collective safety and freedom.
Is there a bipartisan support for stricter gun control, or is it politically impossible?
There is some bipartisan support for limited gun control measures, such as strengthening background checks or improving mental health reporting, but sweeping restrictions or bans are politically impossible in the U.S. The Second Amendment is a deeply entrenched constitutional right, and tens of millions of Americans see gun ownership as essential to their safety and freedom. Any attempt at broad bans or confiscation sparks strong resistance across political and cultural lines. While some compromise measures occasionally gain traction, the fundamental divide remains. One side views guns as the problem, the other as the safeguard of liberty. Because of this deep cultural and constitutional foundation, strict gun control lacks the widespread, durable support needed to pass nationally. Instead, policy tends to focus on narrower areas of agreement, while the broader right to keep and bear arms remains strongly defended by millions of citizens and their representatives.
There is substantial bipartisan public support for many gun restrictions, including open carry limitations, making policy change politically feasible despite partisan divisions among politicians. Polling consistently shows majority support across party lines for background checks 80 to 90%, restricting guns in schools and government buildings 70% plus, and limiting public carry in sensitive areas. Even many Republican voters support these measures when polled individually rather than as partisan packages. The gap exists between public opinion and political action due to intense lobbying, primary election dynamics, and gerrymandered districts where politicians fear activist minorities more than general public opinion. But this represents political dysfunction, not genuine impossibility. Successful reforms have occurred. Red flag laws passed in Republican-led states after mass shootings, and some GOP governors signed school safety measures restricting campus carry. Crisis moments create opportunities for evidence-based policies. International examples show conservative parties can lead gun reforms when public safety demands it. Australia's buyback was implemented by a conservative prime minister. American conservatives could similarly prioritize public safety over ideological purity. The key is focusing on specific, popular measures like open carry bans in sensitive areas rather than comprehensive packages that trigger maximum political resistance. Incremental progress is politically achievable and builds momentum for broader reforms.